Just throwing up a quick video to hopefully help people out there that have big heads, just like I do. These are all my welding hoods, including one grinding shield that we'll talk about. And I'm just kind of going to compare them and talk about them. Like I said, for the most part, this is to talk about fit and comfort and things like that. A little bit about me, at least for my head. I've got a size 8 1/8 fitted head, which I think is around 67 centimeters or so, which is pretty damn big. Also, because I might mention this, I do have an eye condition called uveitis in both of my eyes. Essentially, it makes both my eyes extremely light sensitive, and I get headaches from my eyes being overloaded with light, which you may be thinking, well, why are you welding if you have that eye condition? It didn't happen until after I started welding. Still don't know the root cause. We're working on it. But a little bit about myself. I've been welding for maybe 10 or 15 years or so. I went into welding school when I was 17. Have a lot of experience with stick and oxyacetylene and MIG. Currently teaching myself TIG. I'm actually kind of obsessed with it. Loving it, to be honest. I'm genuinely loving it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm mostly, a home gamer in the garage or around the house is kind of the extent of my range for now. But I do have plans in the future to build some sort of a career out of this. Metalworking in some sort. I don't know if I'm going to be exclusively a welder or not. We'll see. Fabrication, welding. I do a lot of forging, things like that. So a little bit about myself. Now to get in the actual video. So as I said, this is going to be about heads, headgear, fit, comfort, things like that. So if you're a 20-year seasoned pipeliner just looking for something indestructible, get a fiber metal tiger hood or whatever and carry on. This is not the video for you. This is people who are genuinely looking for a good hood, and they have either a big head or they just would like to see these particular hoods compared, because this is quite the assortment here. So let me start with my first ever hood. I got this when I was, maybe 17 or so I've had it for quite some time. This is a Lincoln Viking 1740 ADF. The stickers are indicative of my age. I have added some. It kind of feels like sacrilege to add stickers to a hood that have had the same stickers on it for 10 plus years, but blank spots are even more annoying. So I have added some over time. But this is a great hood. For the money, this is definitely the best use I've gotten out of a hood, 10, 15 years. Hasn't been heavy use. Obviously, I'm not a career welder. This thing would probably be absolutely destroyed if I was welding every single day for those 10 years, 15, whatever it's been. But for what I paid for it, which was probably 120, 150 bucks, it has served me more than well. The big reasons why I'm not currently using this hood are the viewing area is really small, extremely small. It's essentially a 2x4, which is plenty for some people, but for my applications, I'm looking for more. I don't feel like apologizing for that, but just for me, it was not enough. The green tint was subpar, not, in the context of MIG and stick and things like that, it was fine. But once you're getting into TIG and stuff, color is very important, especially with stainless and stuff like that. Maybe not very important, but it's extremely helpful and nice, let's be honest. I was also getting flashed a lot with the sensors, which is just kind of to be expected with a dual sensor system. It just kind of happens. I tried going fixed lens with a pipeliner. We'll get to that. Not really for me in my use case. So I wanted to switch this guy out. Regarding the headgear, this fits great. The headgear, I really can't complain for the money. It's similar to a pipeliner style where it's very rigid, not a lot of adjustability or points of adjustment. I've only got these two right here, maybe some in the front, I don't think so. On all the hoods that I regularly use, I like to add this Tillman sheepskin or whatever it is. It's like a $10 little snap thing. Just because I get headaches so often that this pressure that a strap causes on the forehead is right where I normally get headaches. So anything I can do to mitigate that is always nice. But yeah, the adjustment on this guy's fantastic. The head shape, at least for me, is perfect out of the box. I didn't need to adjust it or anything. When I put it on my head at wide open, I've definitely got room for a cap, which I don't always wear, but sometimes. I've got just enough room for a cap at wide open. I'd say, what is that? Like a half turn and we're snug on the adjuster. So it's a little close, but it's perfectly fine. I would highly recommend this if you're looking for a budget option hood for a larger head. I haven't tried anything other than what you see on this table, so that's my experience. Out of everything, this is my budget pick for sure. Absolutely love this. But now it is when somebody comes over, that's the hood they wear. That's what that is for me now. Next, we've got the Lincoln Viking 3350 4C. This is a armor kind of style one. Although the silhouette of the hoods is very similar, that's about where the similarities end. The differences are pretty extreme. Right off the bat, the ADF viewing area you get, I would guess, is around triple, maybe somewhere in that range. You gain 2 more sensors, which is really nice. Grind button, which, to be honest, I don't use all that often. And the headgear is something completely different. So this guy has tons of adjustment, a extreme amount of adjustment, honestly. It's got this kind of back of the skull strap. It's got the more to the front of the skull strap, and then it's got your forehead, which pivots, which is so nice. Oh my God, so nice. Again, I've got this little cushy thing on it. The sliding feature, how close the hood actually sits to your face, it has the easiest adjustment I've ever seen with these 2 levers. You can adjust it on the fly. Just fantastic headgear. When I put it on at wide open, it's going to fall off. It is extremely loose. So you've got room for days under this thing. I would imagine you can probably go all the way up to like a 8.5 or a 9 size head before you're really pushing it. Just guessing on that. This is my go-to headgear for when I'm actually wearing a cap because it has so much room and it just fits well. The adjuster with that positive click is just, oh, it's beautiful. It just works so well. All of the pivot points on it, it's just the most comfortable headgear I've worn to date, by far. The locking mechanism for the hood flipping up is pretty good. I've only seen it better in one place, which we'll talk about. It's perfectly fine. I wouldn't call it anything great, but it's good. So yeah, this actually replacement headgear, I'll talk about why in a second, that I just got in the mail today, and it's a little bit cattywampus. It was actually way worse when I opened the package. But I've been hitting it with the heat gun and then putting it on and taking it off and adjusting it. Just kind of happened in shipping with this thin, malleable kind of plastic. I'm not surprised. I'm not upset. Just takes a little adjustment. But the reason that this is no longer my main hood, and it only was for a very short amount of time, sad to say, is that I could not get a respirator to fit under this. Like I said, I have a pretty big head and subsequently a pretty big face and pretty terrible eyes. So I like to wear my hood very close to my eyes so I have a maximum viewing angle or viewing range. And the respirator was constantly contacting. I've got 2 that I wear under my hoods right now. I've got a standard kind of 3M style, which fits my face actually. And then I've got like the Miller GVS style. I've actually got 2 of these guys. These really don't fit my face very well. This is marked as an extra large, but I don't know if it is. I don't know, but this doesn't fit well. So then I bought the GVS one, which is the same freaking thing, just different branding. And I'm assured that this was the large or extra large, whatever the biggest size they sell. and they're identical. So unfortunately, these really don't fit my face all that well, even though they're low profile. I really can't get a good seal on them, and when I do, it's depressing my nose. My chin slides out when I move my jaw. They're great. I've heard nothing but good things, but for somebody with a really big head, these are not ideal. And this will just, for the position that I wear this in anyway, it will just barely clear. This, not a chance of getting this guy in there. I know Lincoln sells something similar. I did order it from Baker's Gas, but it's on, or Cyberweld, I forget. But it's on back order right now, so we'll see maybe if that fixes my issue. But for now, this is the respirator I'm trying to use when I use a respirator most of the time. So I was really frustrated that with the fact that I couldn't get a respirator under this guy, at least in my use case. Outside of that, this is a fantastic hood. Fantastic hood. That's my only real complaint about it. That, and it would flash me on occasion. For example, I was wearing it the other day, and I was doing this little stainless steel truck kit and getting in these little things. I would get flashed every once in a while. I don't think that's particularly this hood or this ADF system's fault. It's more of just kind of how it works with sensor placement. But I really don't have anything objectively wrong with this. It's just for my uses, it's not perfect. I probably could stand to get rid of it, but I just don't want to. It's pretty. I had this saved on Amazon for months until it went slightly on sale. Then I finally bought it. So if I ever find what I'm using now for cheaper than I found this, then I'll replace it. But this is currently my backup, and honestly, it's really pretty to look at. So I'm not complaining. Next, we'll go to what I'm actually using all day, every day, which is behind me, not even in the frame. This is my Miller Digital Infinity. This is the Clear Light 4 power lens technology. This is wonderful. The viewing area for me is perfect. My one complaint about the Lincoln's viewing area, which I wouldn't say is a negative, but just a complaint, is that it's more of a vertical gain rather than a horizontal or a full gain, where this you're gaining in every dimension. This guy, it's just kind of stretching this way. Also with the Miller, the clarity on the lens is way better. It has less of a tint to it, at least for me. The sensors seem to be better. That's why I originally got this hood. Is the occasional flashes with the Lincoln were just enough to annoy me. And I found this guy in this specific colorway. I think this is the retro or the vintage or whatever it's called. This was the cheapest one other than plain black. So I was like, all right, I'll try it out. And I was expecting on returning it, but I liked it a lot. So I'm keeping it. This is now my main hood that I'm using now. I haven't had it for super long, but I am in love with it. But if anybody has this hood, they may be noticing something. This has Lincoln Viking headgear. So what I did was the headgear that came with this fit perfectly fine. And this is going to get even more confusing, but it's actually on this one now. It fits perfectly fine, but this padding, which is really dense foam, like extremely dense foam, was just slightly too much. And it was, when I put this headgear on, it is pretty much as tight as I want it. I maybe go one click to tighten it on. I have to effectively wedge this guy on my head, which sucks. So that was my only complaint really with this hood. Also, the locking mechanism for flipping the hood up is top tier. It's amazing. I don't know how they did it, but they have it perfectly dialed to where if, you can have your hood set relatively loose and it's not falling down on your face. Like we've all seen those people who just can't keep their hoods up. But you give it a little snap and you get that positive click and it comes right down. It's the best locking mechanism for sure. So if you don't have a giant head, this is, I mean, a all-around fantastic hood. But Lincoln Viking headgear fits in these perfect. No modification needed. And this headgear just fits me better. So I took the old headgear from my other Viking that I've worn quite a bit. It's not quite beat up, but it's getting there. Put that in here since it's already kind of worn in. And then I just got replacement headgear for the actual Viking. So I've got 2 sets of this headgear. And I'm very pleased. With the headgear swap for a guy with a big head, this is a perfect hood for me. I mean, I wouldn't change anything about this currently. The X mode is not something I use a whole lot, but it's nice that I have the option and I can experiment with it in the future. But for now, I'm not really taking advantage of that. I do like the ease of access on replacing this lens. I don't feel like doing it. I have seen opinions in a couple different places about dust getting in here. Possibly. We'll see. I'm not exactly in the most heavy use scenarios here, so we'll see if that comes into play. But other than that, this is perfect. It's nice and stiff. I don't know what plastic they use. It just feels better than any other hood I've worn. You can definitely tell it's heavier, marginally, but heavier. So if that's a factor, consider that. But if you've got a big noggin and you're looking for a large viewing area with good clarity, this is a fantastic hood. Unfortunately, it's also the most expensive hood other than this guy. But it's great. I would say it's worth the money. I use it at this point every day as I'm practicing TIG welding, and I have no complaints. It's utterly fantastic. And the width of the hood, I can easily fit one of these GVS filters under here without any contact. And I can kind of squeeze this 3N guy in here just a bit. It still contacts. I still have to make sacrifices on my hood angle with that. But it is slightly wider than the Lincoln, which is nice. So I'm imagining with the Lincoln filters that I'm going to, when they get in stock, hopefully that will be the perfect combo. So we'll go to this guy because it's kind of on topic with the respirators. This guy has this is a outlaw leather, I don't know what the model is called. It's a pipeliner style hood with the flip up through an ADF in it. Whatever this ADF is the most sensitive I've ever seen. T240 10 Tradesman. So it's a 10 shade auto darkening. It's super sensitive. Just the GoPro will set it off. I don't know how that works, but it's extremely sensitive. Luckily, it's got flip up, and it's got that absolutely magical Miller locking flip up. If I could get it to lock. No, I can't. But the hood itself is great. It came with headgear that sucks for me, for my head. I'm sure it's fine for other people. But this is it. Horrible for my head. The pipeliner style headgear just does not fit my head. It just doesn't. Specifically because of this top strap right here. This angle, the edge right here, is just digging into the top of my head constantly because I'm probably at about this angle that I'm wearing it, maybe even a little bit steeper, probably right here. This bottom edge sucks, so I put this Tillman strap on it to try to ease that, and it was still horrible. So for me, that was not working out. So it did take some modification on the holes. I did have to file them down. I just did it like an hour ago. Set up the files on the table here. But some minimal modification, you can get it to fit pretty much no issue. And with that, I have really no complaints now. This is still not the most comfortable headgear. Still has the same problems, but compared to the alternative, it's tolerable for now. And now that I know it fits the Miller headgear, I can get Lincoln headgear for this guy. So I guess I'm just going to be throwing Lincoln headgear on pretty much everything. The reason I bought this, not being a pipeliner or much of a stick welder anymore, is that I was thinking that with this cutaway and the leather being here, this might be way more forgiving on wearing a respirator because it's not a hard plastic contacting it. It's just leather. Who cares? So my idea was that I could fit the 3M respirator under here. And I was perfectly correct. It fits great. So this is the only reason I bought this is so I could fit a full-size respirator under a welding hood. It seems a little bit ridiculous, but when you're welding in a pretty small garage with stainless steel and it gets freezing pretty often and you really don't want to open any more airflow than you absolutely have to, and you can't blow a fan directly on you because, you know, shielding gas. I mean, not wearing a respirator is just long-term suicide anyway. But in that situation, especially a respirator, which we'll get to the fact that I'm not even doing that anymore, I really wanted a respirator dedicated hood just so I had no excuse on wearing one. So that's why I have it. And it's great. And I like the fact that it's, you know, I can just kind of chuck it around. This is my beater. I haven't had it for very long. And when I wear it, I'm just sitting at this table. I'm not in the mud, you know, pipelining it up or anything. So, but it's great. I really like it a lot. I'm probably going to change the ADF lens on it because it's extremely sensitive. But yeah, I really like this. It's pretty damn heavy with the flip up, and the leather doesn't really save you much weight. I do wish they went with some stiffer leather, but it's good for what it is. And for my purpose, the reasons that I got it, great. Just keep in mind, for somebody with a big head, the headgear that it came with, horrible. Horrible. I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's just kind of how it works out, but do not recommend. Here I have a really cheap Hobart, like I think literally $29 on Amazon. I bought it just to massacre it because I wanted to try to make an outlaw style hood, because my outlaw style hood was taking, God, it must have taken me like a month and a half to get that thing, even though it said it was ready to ship. I'm not quite sure what happened, because I ordered the leather, what's it called? Pocket hood, I think is what they call it. I just wanted something to throw in my blacksmithing tool bag, because occasionally we do stick welding. So the little leather pocket hood, least comfortable thing on the planet. It's usually not an exciting day if you got to bust one of these guys out, but just to have, and I'm glad I did. But because of this guy, it took almost 2 months for me to get my order, maybe a month and a half. Nothing against Outlaw. I'm sure they're doing tons of business because they're extremely popular right now. But I made this guy in the meantime because I was impatient, and I've been kind of trying to learn leather working and all this stuff. Long story short, Hobart headgear is just as miserable as the stock Outlaw and the fiber metal, which I have over here. It's essentially all the same in terms of fit and comfort. I can get it on. I guess the adjuster on the Hobart is decent, but it's, oh God. Again, for a large noggin, this is miserable. It's really bad. So that's that. I don't really wear this. I just put this up now because I probably have $40 total invested in it. Painted it purple. Didn't come out all that well. Headgear sucks. But throw a lens in it and it will be totally usable. We'll go to the fiber metal here. So this, there's only one reason I got this. I was at my local welding supplier. They had this guy just hanging on the wall with a flash card essentially on it, taped to it, that said $25. And I was like, why is that hood $25? And I'm like, well, we don't have the box and it's missing its lenses, which fixed lenses are what? Maybe a couple bucks at most. So I was like, all right, 25 bucks, screw it. Brought it home, spray painted it gold. I don't know why. Excuse me. Threw an ADF lens in it, really cheap one, I think. Or maybe I put the cheap one in the Outlaw. That's probably why I'm having issues. And that's it. Again, the headgear, I wouldn't recommend it. It's pretty bad for the large noggin, but I imagine pipeliners really don't give much of a damn. They've probably got their caps on their heads, and they'd probably sooner just take a Zippo to the plastic and just adjust it on the fly and get back to work. So I'm not going to make too much of a deal about it, but it's the most comfortable pipeliner headgear out of all of them, but still wouldn't recommend. It does fit. The shape is not great. At wide open, At wide open, it fits about like a fitted baseball cap hat would, but with the weight, it moves around. If this thing didn't weigh anything, it wouldn't really move. So the headgear is fine. It's serviceable. These nuts kind of suck. I have one that just skips a thread when I try to tighten it down. I think it's this one. Yeah. I'm not even tightening it that hard. I'm just being gentle with it. But for 25 bucks, why not? It's good to have around. And the headgear's fine. Next, we'll go to Jackson. So I have both of these just to illustrate a point. I bought this shell on eBay because I thought it looked cool. Just the shell for, I think, 20 bucks plus shipping. And then I got Jackson headgear for it, which is the same headgear as this guy, because I have this grinding shield and it fits great and I really like it. And it's my go-to standalone grinding shield. Fits perfect. Absolutely no complaints. Extremely happy with it. So I was like, yeah, just buy that headgear and throw it on the Jackson hood and it'll be cool. This is the slimmest damn thing I have ever seen in my life. I can't even approach to get this on my head. I mean, I can't even describe how tight it is in this dimension right here, essentially on your temples. That's what's stopping me from getting it on. It's not this overall size. It needs to be stretched out this way. Regardless, I have maybe 40 bucks invested in this. I actually just keep this in the house hung on the wall because it's not disgusting. Just because I like the look of it. Nice colors, kind of the aesthetic I go for in the house when I'm allowed to decorate. And yeah, it looks cool. I put a clear lens in it and then spray painted it black on the inside. Because I think you can get a 10-pack of clear lenses for this for like $5. Like dirt cheap, so why not? So yeah, that's all that is. Would not recommend for people with a big head, but this Jackson grinding hood, on the other hand, is amazing. I use the hell out of this. I changed the lens one time on it, and it's perfect. I mean, could not ask for more on the terms of a grinding shield. So, Jackson, 50/50. Okay, this is going on for a while. Apologize if I'm breathing kind of funny. A little bit congested. I'm pretty much always congested, to be honest. This is the Aesop Sentinel A60? A60, but this is the PAPR. Powered Air Purification Respirator. This is a respirator that creates positive pressure inside of here, creates a seal and blows anything crappy away from you. It's got a hose that hooks into here, straps here, goes behind your back, powered air filter behind you. You probably know that already. But I got this specifically because Canada Welding Supply had it cheaper than anywhere else. They had it, the entire system, for, I think it was on sale for like $1,200, $1,100, maybe. There was also an eBay seller that has these, and I want to warn you. The eBay seller has the 1.0, I believe, which is the European version from what I could gather. The filters are hard to find. It takes a different charger. And I think one other thing is slightly different. Different enough to where I was willing to pay $200 more for this guy. Because this has the very available parts. So I got this specifically for stainless steel welding. Like I said, I'm in a small shop. It gets very cold sometimes, at least in the winter, obviously. So it's either wear tons and tons and tons of layers, or just throw on a PAPR and have minimal airflow. I'm not going to say zero, but minimal. So far, that's my strategy, and it's been working out well. As you can see, this has a very sensitive ADF. I don't know if you can see, but it's turning on and off for my LED lights. The clarity on this hood is insane. But getting to fit, can't speak to the standard A60 Sentinel, which I would imagine is killer. But for the PAPR version, this hose connect right here will hit you on the head if you flip the hood up. Why you're flipping a PAPR hood up, I'm not sure. It's kind of a take on, take off type deal since it's creating a seal. But if you ever do flip it up, this thing will knock you on the head. I have considered taking off the PAPR system and this is just Velcroed in. You can just pull this right out. taking all of it out and using it as a standard hood just to really gain my bearings on it, because it's kind of a, if you've ever used a Papper, it's kind of a thing to put one on. It takes a little while and you got to get it adjusted. Not that it's bad, but it's a little bit inconvenient and annoying. You've got this hose going down your back and you've got this backwards fanny pack on and stuff. So it's something I only use when I need to, but I'm glad I got it for so cheap. The alternative that I was looking at was the Lincoln Viking 3350, I think. It was like $2,400, and you get the exact same thing. Not saying it's the same product, but the exact same amount of filters, battery charger bag, things like that. So I was like, God, $1,000 more just because it's a Lincoln? I was like, no, I'm going to try the ESOB. And I really like it. It fits great. I keep getting off topic. I'm sorry. The headgear is very similar to the Lincoln. I would almost call it near identical. You don't get that positive click, but the fit is nearly identical. It's a little bit tighter. I had to take off the front padding, which kind of blows. I'm currently figuring out an option. I think I'm just gonna like Super 77 glue some foam to this or something. But just for me, it's a little bit tight. Like I said, my forehead's a little sensitive because I have headaches so often. Oh, boo-hoo, poor me. But like I said, I'm just gonna throw some foam on here, I think, or something like that. These Tillman straps don't quite fit because these are this front strap is quite wide, so it doesn't fully wrap around, and the goatskin, sheepskin puffy one is a little bit too much padding and it makes it a little too tight. So I'm experimenting. Worst comes to worst, I'll pull the headgear out, hit it with a heat gun, and do my patented stretch and hold until it cools. Then it should fit perfect. It is a bummer that this is this is not recessed. I hate setting this guy down on the face. Even though these front shields are replaceable, it just kind of hurts the soul to scratch this giant fighter pilot looking thing. But, it's got a grind button, which I actually use on this versus the Lincoln, because sometimes when I'm grinding in here, not just with an angle grinder, I've got a full-blown kind of knife grinder that you can see over there. When I'm doing my forging stuff, it gets crazy dusty in here, and the black booger thing gets old pretty quick and smelling iron all the time. So and I'm sure it's not good for you, obviously. So this is also kind of doubling as my grinding hood. I haven't used it a whole ton because honestly, the inconvenience of the Papper, it sucks. I don't consider myself a lazy person until it's like put on the Papper. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just put on a respirator and shield. I don't feel like it. I don't know why. I just haven't gotten used to it. I need to force myself. But for stainless steel welding, this is perfect. The lens is crazy nice. Really don't have any complaints. The balance on the hood is great. The locking mechanism is fantastic, but being that this is the Papper version, that's not very relevant because, like I said, this is kind of a take on and off rather than a flip up and down situation. Can be done. You can remove the Papper system and then you've just got a standard ESOB Sentinel. But it's a great hood. Fits good. Just a little bit tight. I think that is it. I think I've blabbed long enough. I appreciate you watching. I hope this helps. Yeah, if you got a big head out there, I would recommend personally the Lincoln Viking 3350 for price versus viewing area versus headgear versus everything. If you got a few more bucks to spend, I'd recommend getting the Clearlight Digital Infinity with Lincoln headgear, which is about $40 for the headgear. So total, you're probably around $500 for this guy, maybe $400 for this guy. But the marginal improvements that you gain, at least for me, are worth it. The increased space for a respirator, clearer, and for me, more preferred viewing area, and the just kind of the rigidity of it. I don't know how to explain it, but like, I can get this guy to move. Not that it feels cheap. I mean, it doesn't need to be made out of, carbon fiber or steel or something. But for being a similar weight, this is dramatically more sturdy, at least in my opinion. Can't go wrong with either of them, but if you have a massive head, get yourself this headgear. I even brought the tag out for it. Here it is. X6 headgear. This is the headgear to get. This goes way higher than 8 inches. I would imagine it goes up to 9, 9.5 before you really start running into trouble. Part number KP4470-1. Get this headgear regardless of which hood you end up getting. If you're on an ultimate budget with a giant head, I would get the Viking 1740 and I would throw the Lincoln headgear in it. This fits, but it's not very comfortable. If you can tolerate this, especially if you're used to a pipeliner hood, this is the hood to get. I mean, from what I've tried, budget-minded, and it doesn't need to be perfectly comfortable, this is the hood to get. It fits great. If you have an absolutely gargantuan head or you want something more comfortable, I would slide the upgraded Lincoln headgear. All right, I've blabbed enough. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. See you later.